Hi guys, welcome to Success4MEETS. I'm here with Bo Hawkins and we're here on Skype because we just tried Zoom and it all just fell through. So, Bo, thank you for being so patient with us, and how are you doing today?
Oh, thank you, man, and it's great to see you again. No, man, it's awesome. Like I think we were both in the UK. The sun is finally out. We can't lose.
It's beautiful. It's a beautiful day out there, so we're going to pop out later. I might even go and have a beer at the pub or something just in the garden. But guys, so we connected with Bo through Facebook, and he's got show 4 Minute Masters. I know you've got coming out with the Bo Show now as well. There's so many other things going on, but what an extraordinary life you've had. So we were just talking before, but let's go back. Let's go back to when you were young. I think you said you were 6, 7, maybe 8 years old, and your parents had got a very interesting job, and it maybe shaped your world.
It kind of did. So as I said, I grew up in the West Indies. I grew up in the Caribbean until I was about 6 or 7. Then we moved to Ireland, Dublin, and my parents started working with one of the members of U2, the biggest band in the world. And I instantly was put into a world that most people don't even dream about because they don't know it exists. And to see such power is the wrong word, but to see such heights of humanity, the best around all the time, really kind of had an amazing dream effect on me. So as I was growing up, I realized these guys make music, and their music helps people be extremely happy. Therefore, I want to do something with my life. So from a young age, I got into things like Anthony Robbins, Dr. Wayne Dyer, Napoleon Hill, things like that, learning techniques. I went to NLP seminars with, so what's his name? Richard
Bandler.
Bandler.
Yep.
That's it. I went to some of his to learn to do that. I did some Tony Robbins stuff. And then I wanted to actively start helping people. And I think I said earlier, one of the great kind of ways to envision life is a hero's journey. And when I was in my early 20s, I was like, I'm going to make a difference in the world. I want to be great. And that's not egotistical great. That's, I want to help as many people as I can. And I write about it in the first chapter of the book that an elderly gentleman I met at the time, I was telling my life story, told him I want to be great. And he laughed. And he said, son, you've not done enough in your life to even begin to be great. You have to go to hell, and then from there, you're going to come back. So I laughed, and it was then I got a phone call, and my whole world just disappeared. So from that moment on, became homeless, had nothing in my world, no finances, no prospects, because I didn't have a job at the time. I didn't need one. I followed my pursuit and my love for music. I was a musician as well. And I didn't know what to do with my life. So that's when I started applying the techniques that I learned throughout the years from reading books. And I've read hundreds of books. And I found out what works and what doesn't work. And I found out that what we have as society is causing us to become more depressed, more anxious, more being told we're not good enough, kind of kept down on the radar. And as I said to you earlier, yes, falling from that kind of height down to this new world had such an impact on me. It eventually led me to kind of contemplate my own life and attempt suicide, because I was like, I can't live like this anymore. And I know in other people's eyes, they might go, oh, you're silver spoon, you fell off your horse, boohoo. But in my eyes, it's all I knew. And I changed completely. I couldn't even afford like a can of beans. I had a dog, my dog that I grew up with, and it was, okay, I either feed the dog or I feed myself. And the dog always won. There might have been a time when I tried to win a lap biscuit. I don't want to talk about it.
It's a bad day.
It was a bad day. But I remember all this. And the second that I reached the kind of that edge of darkness where I was like, okay, there's no return, because it's as painful to go forward as it is to go back into the world and start living again and have that darkness. It kind of broke me. And then the more I've been reading, a lot of people get to the stage of being broken. Eckhart Tolle had it, where he said, I just can't live with myself anymore. And he said in his head, who said that? And then he started unraveling, and that's how he's now the peaceful master we all know. And so I felt that that's the night that broke me, and I went back into the world with a mission, and that was that no one should ever feel the darkness and feel hopeless ever again. So I wanted to use what I learned over those 25 years, combined knowledge, and help as many people as I could. And since I committed to that and I found a cause in my heart, it's like they say in everything, you need to follow your heart. I know it sounds seedy, but it just sounds corny. But as soon as I started following my true mission, my heart, incredible things started happening. And as you've seen some of the interviews I've done on my channel and stuff, we've only been going a year on 4 Minute Masters.
Yeah, no, it's amazing what you can get done in a year if you're going at it, as you say, right from the heart, and you're doing it for the right reasons, and people can sense that, especially, and you have more to offer them. What interests me, we were talking about being around a band that size at the time. Why were a lot of people would have become silver spoon in their mouth? They would have think, oh, well, the whole world kind of revolves around me, but you didn't. You were reading Dr. Wayne Dyer, you were reading Tony Robbins, you were reading these spiritual books, so you must have had something innately in you to go, I actually want to learn. There's more to the world than this, than I see.
Yeah, well, there'll be two reasons for that. The first reason, which is the most influential person in my life, was my father. And our family didn't come from wealth. They worked their ass off to get to a place where they would eventually go into this other world and start working among these amazing people. And he was into kind of quantum physics and alternative lifestyles from the early days, like the early Sedona days, stuff like that. And raising a child in that manner, and kind of not what Simon Sinek talks about now, like every kid's grown up to told they're great and they can do anything, however, given the backbone for it. But I was given the teachings, and also given the hardships. Like, although growing up around amazing people, we were still ensured that we lived in reality. And the other aspect was that all these super successful people are constantly trying to improve themselves. So they're the ones who are surrounding themselves around the likes of Tony Robbins, or they're going to the huge seminars, or they're getting personal, like these don't go to the seminars, they come to them.
Yeah.
And at that level. And so the most successful people in the world are still striving for greatness. And that was a trait that I could see and went, okay, so you don't get to the top and just stand on the mountain. No, you get on top of the mountain, you go, where's the next one? And you find it and you go for it. And that, I think, is something that I've taken with me in that two-prong attack from day one.
So go back a year from the time, actually, let's go back to the point where you were homeless. How do you go from being there to homeless, but from that point and going, I've got to get where I am now? You started 4 Minutes Masters a year ago, and you've already spoke to some of the most incredible people that you could imagine. How did you go from homeless to starting 4 Minute Masters? What happened in that gap? That it was almost like your Rocky days.
Well, that happened 9 years ago now.
Mm-hmm.
And to kind of, if I was to draw a graph and it was like to be a line like this, would just be bull, because that's not how it went. It went through, as I said, I felt every negative emotion I could possibly feel: hate, resentment, anger, frustration, regret, everything I could feel. I had that. And then it took me a while to get into the kind of like the Four Agreements and kind of my more spiritual upbringing that I did have, which I'd neglected through meditation. And it took me a long time to get there. And when you're in crisis, you start acting out of, just sheer desperation. And it took me a long time to realize that. So any opportunity that came to help me, I would have to grab it, because I felt like I was sinking. I just wanted anything to get me out of this pain. One extraordinary lucky thing I had was I didn't drink, or I never took drugs. And that was throughout my whole childhood, throughout my whole teens. I was in a band. We never did that. And I do know that if I had, I would be dead today, without a doubt. So I was lucky to have that standing with me. And I never used that as an escape. But it got to a point where I think I was getting on my feet, and then I would start believing the lies around me in my head, and I'd sabotage myself. And I'd get up again, and I'd sabotage myself. And I think I told you to a point, I was being bullied by two, I wouldn't call them gangland people, but just not nice people. And they were threatening my family, they were threatening my friends, they were threatening people I loved with just violence, because they believed that they saw, and it's amazing when you look back on it, at techniques like neurolinguistic programming, you can spot vulnerable people, you know how to play them, and these people are masters at that. It's like these con artists and whatnot. So they saw I was vulnerable, saw that I came from wealth, and tried to extort that. And one of the stories I told online recently was how I got driven to, I was so scared that they were going to hurt people I loved. I actually ended one relationship I was in, and I ended it quite harshly so I could push them away so they wouldn't get hurt, because I was too hurt myself. I was lent 2 guitars from a friend, and the people knew I had the guitars because they saw them in the car, and they were going to take, and I got freaked out. So what I did was I sold them just to give them the money. And then the idea of, like, you think you can plan everything because you're in this weird state, but I was like, no, I'll buy them back and then everything will be fine. Well, like, in a blessing, the universe, whatever you want to call it, my friend found out they were sold without his permission. He hit the roof. I tried to explain, but I just said, look, you won't understand the fear, and I just don't want anyone hurt anymore. And I just packed my bags and I left the country. And I know a lot of people felt anger and they felt resentment. And in that time, though, my karmic debt, I know I've paid back 10 times, and I've paid the monetary value back of that one action. However, it was the greatest thing that ever happened to me because it forced me out of my comfort zone to change life. So that was about 6 years ago. I moved to the UK and I started getting on my feet. And then I started realizing that in this new place, there's no judgment. And I was free from judgment, free from anxiety. And I decided to not reinvent myself, but I started to go, okay, what's my authentic self? What's my true self? And I started expressing that. And the last 5 years have just been skyrocketing for my life because I'm living my true course. Yeah, I've had troubles here and there. There have been deaths in the family. There have been illnesses here and there. There have been financial troubles. However, that's been dwarfed by the amount of success that I've achieved. And now I live in I live, I think, in the nicest part of the UK. I have a beautiful house. I have a beautiful wife. I've met some of the greatest people in the world who I'm very privileged to call friends, not just people I interview. And I'm actively making a difference now. I'm giving as much as I can. I coach a lot of people. I get emails every day from people saying, wow, our chat, this is how I've changed my life. And they've gone on to meet their partner, or they've finally asked for the promotion. They've changed their lives. And to me, that's just rocket fuel for, okay, I've hit the top of the mountain. Where's that next mountain?
You can feel it coming across, the excitement of what you're doing. You can tell by just the elevation of what the way you're saying things. But a good point that you come up with there, and I thought this is the reason why we started Success4, that we wanted to protect people from some of the practices in self-development that when you get into it you can fall foul to. And you said something there about NLP and being able to read people. These bullies were doing that to you. So do you feel like that's something that you want to kind of protect people for? I know that's something that one of the missions that I'm on specifically, is to protect people from going through what I was subjected to, even if it's in a different genre. Do you feel like because you were bullied, you were basically frightened, and you were put in a position where you were not in control, you're trying to give people back some control in their life?
I completely agree. Have you ever attended a Dr. Bandler seminar?
No, I haven't. I know quite people. I've interviewed quite a few people. One of my better friends, Richard Gran, and I studied under Richard Bandler, but I haven't, no.
I'm not his biggest fan. I think I don't know. I know that he loves to sue people who talk about him. So I'll try very, very carefully. I think he presents his teachings in a neutral manner, and it is up for the student to interpret how to use them. If you want more on that, ask Darren Brown. He has a very strong opinion on that.
Okay.
But I think, it's you can give someone, it's the analogy of hell again. You can use that fire to forge you for good, or you can use it to burn you. And I think one of the problems with neurolinguistic programming is, yes, we've taken a technique and we've boxed it into a package. And a lot of the people who seek to do it just to learn about it are people who may not have had much success in their life, may have been a bit of a victim or bullied, and now they've got a bit of power, they start to flaunt it, and it gets addictive. It's like anything, and it's not good or bad, it's just the way it is, because these people have never been powerful. So when they actually get to feel powerful, they do. Very similar to if you read Neil Strauss' The Game. The whole book of The Game is based on people learning neurolinguistic programming to go out and pick up girls. And it's very powerful. And these are people who were nerds in college. And if people had just told them, don't worry, in 10 years, the nerds are going to win, which they have, they would have done that. But I think people need to understand in neurolinguistic programming that not everyone's out there to try and hypnotize you and make you kind of zombie. That's not what neurolinguistic programming is. However, there are ways, there are rhythmical patterns, there are many little techniques that if you become just aware of it, you start to become aware of your entire world. You'll start to become aware of advertising on billboards, TVs, everything like that. So I don't use neurolinguistic programming anymore. I do feel it's built into my DNA because it's from when I was like 10, 15, it was what I did. But I used it to kind of cure people from smoking, depression, and I got excited because I saw the good in it. However, I've seen the bad used. And I just think a general awareness of it is curative.
Yeah, no, I totally agree as well. Something like, as a coach yourself, and someone's been doing this a while, what are your sort of takes on? I feel like the network marketing world has come into the coaching world and got mixed up somewhere in there. There's a lot of that sort of thing. What are your sort of takes on finding someone? People saying they're entrepreneurs, but really they're working in a network marketing company. I think the word entrepreneur is got mixed up somewhere. I wouldn't call myself an entrepreneur. I'm a filmmaker by trade. But what are your sort of takes on how that gets misused, that word?
Oh, I think it's like anything. It's been saturated and now it's gone. I think someone used the word, I think it was Dan Meredith, one-entrepreneur. And that seems what most people are right now. They want to feel that their actions are something more important than they actually are. And again, one of my biggest teaching things I love to teach people is about the authentic self. And if you get really authentic and honest with yourself, you'll realize that not everyone has to be an entrepreneur.
No, not
I
at all.
don't classify myself at all. And even my coaching stuff, I do a lot of my coaching gratis because I want that person to be happy. I'm not doing it to make a business. My business that I'm making for myself is completely different. That's why I'm starting to build my own brand, and that's putting out content and books and working with Evan and stuff. But my coaching, I don't put that into like I'm trying to sell someone else's products to get into that. I think people just need to get honest with themselves, and if they did, they'd actually be more successful.
Yeah, this is the hard thing, isn't it? And it comes with growing up and maturing through it and being able to sort of like trust that you don't need to be making millions every year. You definitely don't. You don't need to put that amount of pressure on yourself. How do you feel like in working as a coach or working with someone in the self-development world, it sort of, when you talk to someone and say to them, well, I work in the self-development world, what are the looks that you get? Like, what's the response that you get?
Most people know me from, they hear about me first and then they check me out. And they actually think I'm an interviewer. They think that's what I do. Yeah. And it's not. Someone tried to hire me for a big project thinking that I was just like an analyst and an interviewer. And I was like, it's not my job. I don't want to do that. I just do it for myself. And a lot of people know the people I spoke to. But when I do say, oh, I work in self-help, the main phrase that I'll be using is, I help people become the best versions of themselves. Yeah. And they go, how? And I said, well, what would that be for you? It could be something else. Best version of yourself could be stronger. It could be richer. It could be happier. You don't know. Everyone's got a different dream, a different story. So for me, it's that. But yeah, the stigma is going away. However, how many times, you've probably been there, you go, oh, I help people. And they go, oh, me too. And then they have their own spiel. And then the next they're in a room full of, oh, everyone's a coach here. Okay.
Yeah. No, that's one of the things that we found out when we started Success4. Everyone wanted to be a coach, and there was no one left to coach, and everyone was selling themselves to each other in a round big circle. It was very strange. So talk about the fact that when you were depressed. I mean, how did that sort of at your moments feel? If you could go back to the person you were then when you were very depressed, telling them who you are now, it's about 6 years now. What's the difference in the person, like your thought process?
Fear. I don't feel fear anymore because I'm addicted to running into the unknown, and I'm addicted to that. I just know the edge of your comfort zone. Your life starts like 1 millimeter outside it, and then once you keep diving into uncomfortable situations and having uncomfortable phone calls, you start to become a lot more successful. And that's not just successful in look how great I am. That's you're giving yourself self-validation, but you start realizing there's actually nothing to be afraid of. And I think I don't know who said it, but it appears everywhere now, and you're going to start seeing kids with it tattooed on their arms, and it's going to be a fear, false evidence appearing real. Yeah. And it's true. It's just the little goblins and gremlins in our head telling it. And I'm a huge advocate of the 4 agreements. Have you read that?
I know of the book. Yeah, we've got a lady called Kahinde who's actually reviewed it. It's on our website. So yeah, I know of it. Yep. A
beautiful book. One of the things that I learned that got rid of fear was just one simple principle from it, and it was never assume, and that's it. And I try and live by that, because if I assume that phone's ringing and I don't know the number and I'm gonna pick it up and someone's just gonna berate me, I can create a whole world before anything's happened, and I'm gonna relive it 10,000 times before the actual event happens. And it's like fear, like anything that you assume, and that's what fear is it's that preemptive, this is gonna happen, I know it. So as soon as you lose the assumptions, you get rid of the judge in your head, you can just dive into anything. And that's where the juice of life is. So that's what I would say. when I was depressed, because it was a mixture of not being able to feel anything, like flatline I felt in life, combined with looking for the fear, anxiety, making silly decisions, and just scared all the time. And I remember, you probably see it on here, I woke up gray overnight. I've had a gray beard now for nearly 10 years. I rock it now.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, I was going to say, it looks fun. It looks good.
But that's the power of stress, and it's something that I think people need to get rid of. If you go to a local coffee shop, or you go to just walk down the street and just listen to the crap people are talking, it's a victim. Who's more of a victim than the other? Oh, he said this to me. Yeah, but he said this to me. And it's like, guys, don't you realize what a beautiful world this is? Like, if we actually said more positive things, and it's so simplistic, but everyone's playing who's the biggest victim, and I'm more scared than you, therefore you need to give me what you've got. And that's what I'm hearing. Yeah,
no, it's the Gary Vaynerchuk saying that it is the gratitude thing. It comes back down to gratitude. It's incredible that we live in the Western world, and I'm sitting in a room with heating on it, and I've got, it's ludicrous for me to be any sort of other feeling than overjoyed that I'm sitting here talking to you on a microphone. I'm getting paid to do this for a living. It's bizarre. I used to do this as a child in my living room, and if you'd have told me then you're going to get paid for this one day, I'll be thinking, no, growing up in a shop looking out the window, which I've done. So to be here is incredible, to be able to do the things we do, but also have the creative output and be able to have the space to come up with ideas. And that just brings me on to some of the stuff that you're creating now. How did 4 Minute Masters come about? What was your thought process behind that?
So I was looking for some, actually it started with I started an Instagram account for my beard.
Well, good a place as any, to be honest. Yeah.
But I was on there and I made a little traction, and that went fun. And I remember I've always been looking for my mission. I've always had a general mission, but I needed a vessel for it.
Yeah.
And it actually came when I was in Richmond Park, and I was going for a walk, and I was just kind of zoning out, trying to be at one, and I was in a kind of altered state. And next thing, it just hit me. I said, the attention span is so short. Like, why are we listening to hour-and-a-half podcasts? I don't have time for that. I want the next thing. How many times have you been on Netflix? Just scroll. You spend more time scrolling through the pages than watching something. And I said, what's the problem? Because there's all these phenomenal teachers out there with so many amazing lessons, but they're going to fall on deaf ears to a generation that their attention span is getting even shorter. So if I can interview some masters, and I just used, it just sounded good, but these teachers, these successful, influential people, in 4 minutes, it's a win-win, because it's not encroaching on their time schedule. I get content, and the message, they're going to give you their best 4 minutes. And then that's going to go, and maybe you're going to watch 4 minutes of it, and then you're going to go and buy the book. And then you spend an hour and a half like reading Crush It. And then you start learning about Gary Vee. Then you go to a seminar. Then you start a business. You've changed your life. And that's why I went, okay, what's the minimum amount? 5 minutes still sounds like 5 minutes. 4 minutes sounds like 4 minutes. And that sounds better.
No, I totally agree, yeah. So what are some of the, how did you go about finding, was your first person you interviewed? How did that come about? How did you go about pitching it to them and starting this off?
So one of the things that we just spoke about is fear. If I had listened to the little voice, which I keep shrinking, and it's always going to be there in some capacity, but it was, I'm not worthy enough to interview these people. I can't get in contact. Well, I just go, nah, rid of it. Let's see what we can do. And that started with me going, okay, who do I want to interview? Dream list, anyone in the world. And I had Tony Robbins on there. I had Wim Hof. I had Gary Vee. All of these amazing people. So I found Wim Hof's email, and I just emailed him. And I said, hi, I'm going to start a show. I hadn't started anything. It was like, I think I had the idea, walked back from the park, came into my house, found the email address, emailed him, said, I have this idea for a show. It's 4 minutes. And I'm a huge Wim Hof guy. Like, we can talk about that another time, but everyone I interview, I embody what they teach. Yep. I don't just interview people just because they're a name. And I said, I love what you do. I want you to join my mission. Would you be interested? He goes, okay, be online in 20 minutes. I was like, what? It's like, I don't have a webcam. I don't know how to record a video or anything. So I bought There's a thing called call recorder I found on Skype. I got that. I think we're using it now.
Yeah, we are now. Yeah.
And I had a really crappy webcam because one of my Mac was broken. I didn't know anything about backgrounds, and I just dived in. I just went for it, and I started with doing it. And the guy, I think, to start an interview career with him is just madness, because the guy is like a live wire. He's a firework. And I did that and realized we had a great time. We still connect time to time, and still help people with Wim Hof method, kind of curative things like depression and whatnot through cold exposure, alternative breathing. And then you're kind of, as we said earlier, your successes build. So, wow, I can do that. What else can I do? And then I started documenting, which I'll be putting out soon, and about how I learned to get people. And I think I'll tell you, like, I know you're on this podcast and you're probably going to go, okay, I'd love Gary Vee on here, or I'd love Grant Cardone on here or something. And it's really simple. One, you got to be 100% authentic, and you got to just be yourself. Like, people meet me now and they just know me. The person you're talking to on here is no different to if we were having a beer in that beer garden. Sure. It's completely the same. So your authenticity is essential. Two, it's what can I do for you? Like, although this interview is mine, how can I use this? Even if it's 0.1% of promotional material you might use one day for fun. How can this help you? 4 minutes, again, for me was easy. People like the timeline. But I wanted to help people, and I started getting involved in communities and genuinely doing it. And again, it's that authenticity, it's being vulnerable, saying, I'm brand new at this. And it's also not being afraid to ask for help, which is a strength, not a weakness. And as I started building connections, a lot of the people you interview know other people you want to interview. And because they believe in you, they have no problem kind of assisting you on your mission and saying, oh, here's so-and-so's assistant, have a chat with them. Or how Gary Vee and I got connected. I got connected through Gary Vee through a mutual friend. And I was then told, look, if you want to speak to Gary and you're authentic about it, you have to be able to write your entire conversation in the subject line. Yeah. Every single thing. And I was like, but that's 5 words. And he's like, yeah, good luck. It's going to take you a week to think of that. And I did. I thought of it. And my friend introduced me, and they asked, how can I help you? Let's do this. And 2 or 3 days later, on the biggest day of his life, which was the first day of the VaynerMedia Sports, the Vayner Sports NFL draft, we did the interview. And then if you go onto the video I put online, you can click a link that actually shows his camera crew following him to the draft. Wow. But he's on the phone to me.
Really?
It's awesome.
Oh, we'll link that below. That's fantastic.
And that's cool. And that's like, time with 4 Minute Masters. Yeah. And again, I think that was like my 3rd interview. And I was didn't have a proper camera, didn't have lights, didn't know what I was doing. However, I just dove in, and I met the connection because my authenticity is coming across. I do want to help people. I'm not doing this for a quick buck. I do love what I do. And the more I'm doing what I love, the more people are going, wow, I want to be around this guy, or I want to help you. And it just grows like that. We interviewed Mike Dooley from The Secret and Notes from the Universe. Mm-hmm. And although I'm not too big into airy, fairy kind of, just close your eyes and wish it'll happen, I do believe in action. But one thing that I wanted to highlight with him was so many people concentrate on the how to do something. So I'm going to carve the path and I'm going to know exactly how to do it, which cuts off the entire possibility of something even better coming into your life. And I embody that as well. Once I set something out there, I start working towards it. And if I get taken off course, so be it. Like, for instance, today, our first interview, the internet connection kept going. But would this conversation have been something else if we'd have kept going on that path? Who knows? Yeah. But we're here now, so let's enjoy it.
Yeah, no, fantastic. And then that takes me on to the next question, really, is the stuff that you're doing. I know you're adding a lot to what you're doing. You do a 1 Minute Book Club, but also you're doing the Bo Show. Now tell me about the Bo Show.
So Bo Show, I'm teaming up with Evan Carmichael to do a brand new series on his channel. Wow. Called The Bo Show. Fantastic. And it's similar to 4 Minute Masters, but we're extending it to half hour 45. And we're going to be interviewing big names like I've been doing, but I've now got the weight of 1.3 million people behind me to crazy. Get people. And so the list, we're aiming at super influencers to change the world. And we kept it quiet for a while. We've done some of the interviews. We're just about to do Mel Robbins again at the just after the release of her new Audible program.
Yep.
And every time I speak to Mel, is one of the nicest people in the world. And she really gave me a boost in exposure by she put 4-Minute Masters on one of her mailing lists and sent it out to her hundreds of thousands. And then there, I've met people all over the world, people who want to get invested, not financially, but invested in what I'm doing, spreading the mission. And although at the moment, it's funny because they always say, like, just before you're famous or something, enjoy that feeling of just that peace, because I love looking at my followers and knowing there's only 4, 6, 1,000, depending on which platform, but I know every single one of them, and they're all authentic people, and we're all going on this journey together. And as Gary Vee says, you want to document, don't create. And I'm documenting from being 0 to being 400 to who knows where it could go. I would love it to explode. And my entire life is built on doing social media and influencing people. However, I'm just going for the ride, and it's so much fun to connect with these people. Like it's like, imagine being a football fan and connecting with your favorite players all the time.
Yeah, no, we've interviewed Evan ourselves a few months ago, and it was great to interview him, but it was also great to be able to chat to him about family and about how just him as a person. Like I'm really interested in the people behind the work. The work's already out there, and I like to understand why they do things and why they keep doing things, and the reason why they might possibly. The psychology of it all really interests me. The psychology of you coming from growing up around you too, and how that's affected every little thing that you do, because that's a very unique, I don't know, unique platform to start your life off as a child. So you've seen that the colours of the world have been a bit brighter for you from the very early days. So you've never seen the world in a way maybe that a lot of people who are born into a family that don't have all the excitement around them. You knew what was possible. And I think that's obviously something that's ingrained in you. You can see the possibilities and everything.
Yeah, and I think I even look back, and that's the other thing. I don't mind being honest with myself, because I don't want to hide anything in my life ever. I think there shouldn't even be a corner. It should just be a vast savanna of openness. And I can honestly look back and say, not for a second did I take anything for granted. And I think I'm so blessed to have had that. I had an amazing family, and that's the other thing. I had a family when everything went down, and their lives got destroyed in different ways, and they're all rebuilding. And the strength that takes them, and I think people take for granted. And one of the biggest things, and I think it's the mission to help people, but if you're going to we're going to niche this down a bit more, one of my biggest things is to get rid, which is going to be impossible, but if I can help, is get rid of the internet warrior, the internet bully, the keyboard person who loves to talk a big game. Because no one, like maybe 1 out of 10,000 will be mean to your face or actually say what they mean. And I want to get rid of that. And I got inspired a few years ago when I saw Monica Lewinsky's TED Talk. And she spoke about how she was the first ever cyberbully. When the internet came out, her whole thing with Bill Clinton came out. Yeah. And she was everyone called her a whore and she's a slut and all. No one knows who she was, but they just want to do that. And having it, I remember I used to get Facebook messages from journalists and people saying, oh, if you don't tell us your story, we're going to go out and tell everyone you're gay and stuff. I'm like, what? I'm married to a woman. I was like, you can. Yeah. Basically, people just they can put so much venom into it. And then what hurts me even more is I'm seeing kids brought up the way they are, and they are doing stupid things to themselves. Some of them are like 15, 16, taking their own lives because someone took a picture of them in the bathroom, and they're so ashamed of who they truly are. They take their own lives. And that's not on. That is not on. And this needs to be addressed. And I'm not going to be this pioneer who's going to change the world. I know that. However, if I can get enough of us to start telling people, look, get off your keyboard. If you got like the whole, what was it, Thumper used to say, if you got nothing nice to say, don't say it at all. Yeah. I know it sounds simplistic, but it angers me when I go on TV and a girl's tried to kill herself because so she sent a topless picture to someone and then they sent it to the whole school. Like, that's obscene. I just know if it was me, and that day and age, I'd be the one going, yep, that was me. Yeah. Like Like I'm the guy who'd be in a room and fart and be like, "That was me, guys.
Yeah.
Guys, everyone."
I see what you mean, and it's a very interesting take on it. It's kind of like accepting, going, "You can't get to me. It doesn't matter. Okay, whatever." Because it's the fact that they're getting that reaction out of them that's making it become more than it actually is. And I think you've got a really good point there. But why is that so important to you? Like, what standing on is an element of protection there. There's an element of taking care of people. Why is that so important to you?
Because I don't think you brought it up earlier. I don't think everyone was as lucky as I was growing up. I was extremely blessed. And if I can shine some light, and it's not that I'm saying my world is the truth. However, the things that I believe and the things that I see in the world and the people that I associate with are very loving, caring, full-hearted people. And I think that's just a way of being. And that comes from not being a cyber bully, not kind of trying to get other people, not trying to backbite on everyone. Oh, look what they do. It doesn't matter. And I've been told I try not to engage with trolls. I get people trying online. They say if you're not successful until you get some trolls. And I told the story recently on 4-Minute Masters where someone trolled me and they regretted it quite quickly because I'm being a bit Irish. You get that, I don't know, I feel like I've inherited some wit from it. And someone wrote this post. It was actually one of my I tried to be as vulnerable as I could. It was one of the first times I was coming out about suicide and how this isn't normal. People shouldn't normally try to off themselves. Like, you've never seen a dog just sit there going, I just can't take this anymore. They just, I agree. And so this troll decided to write this lovely essay about me trying to destroy everyone. And if they were a bit smarter, they'd wait until I got a couple more thousand followers so more people could read it. But I read it, which was good. And they were calling me every name under the sun and how dare I be alive and I should have followed through with it and stuff. And then they ended it with, 4-Minute Masters. Is that all you can last in bed? And I went, and my partner, she's like, don't respond. I was like, but it's too glorious. I must respond.
It's very weak as well. That's leading with their chin a bit.
So what I did was I went, 4 minutes was all I needed with your mother. And then he responded going, my mother's dead. How dare so disrespectful. And then I just went, I know. It took me 3 minutes to dig her up.
Oh, God.
And then
the thing is how can he say that's disrespectful when he's attacking you?
I know. I literally screenshotted it and took it down because it's not part of what I want to convey. But I wanted to have some fun with it because it actually took the power out of them. And it made me realize that I'm just talking to a screen. I could say anything. It doesn't matter. But yeah, you are right. There is a protective element to this because too many people, but even not just kids, like one of my heroes, the reason I started music was Chris Cornell. And that's coming up to a year this week. He killed himself. And
God, has that been a year?
Like,
blimey.
Like I was in tears when I heard that. And still now, I can't even listen to the music because it hurts. But I was like, if I was there, and I don't want to live by what ifs, but people shouldn't have to feel like that. They should be able to go to someone and get to a place. And it might not just be overnight, but just to say, look, everything's going to be okay. Or everything as it is now is actually perfect. And if you realized how many people love you, you wouldn't for a second even have a negative thought like that. And then Chester Bennington, I loved Linkin Park growing up. That happened. I was like, oh God, another one, which strengthened my resolve and mission even more to be like, we need to help people. So 4-Minute Masters then is that embodiment of these are thoughts of successful people that you can choose to adopt if you like. And it could steer your life in another direction. Spoiler alert, it will if you do. But that's why I do it. And I think in this day and age, it's too easy to say a comment like something and someone takes serious, real consequential action from it. So
yeah, and I think people need to be aware of that. I was working with Richard Gran recently, who's a Spartan life coach, and he said in one of his videos, he said when you comment on the video below, don't think it's nothing. It's not nothing. It says a lot about you, and it does hurt people. So just because people shouldn't rise above it, there is negative comebacks for what you say in these comments. You are showing the world what you're like, why are you bothering doing it? I'm not talking about constructive comment. I didn't like this. The audio was a bit off. The TV, like, do you know what I mean? The internet dropped a few times. I'm talking about you going out of your way to upset people is a bizarre habit to get into and have.
And people won't do it to your face again. And you nailed it there. And it's that, I think more than anything, the more venomous it is, the more of a cry for help. And they're the actual people who need the help the most. I don't know. I've never seen a comment, or I've never seen a video, or I don't think I've ever seen anything online and be like, I need to say something.
No, I haven't either. Absolutely not.
Yeah, that person's not going to go, oh, I've spent 30 years doing this. This little kid's right. I give up. And they just go.
I'm done. I'm starting again. Yeah, it's just ludicrous. We did a live a few weeks ago, and someone said I was mediating. I didn't even call it mediating. I was asking the questions out, and someone said you need a new mediator. So I said the question out on the live and asked them why they'd said it, and then I got apologies straight away not just through the comments, but later on they apologised again. I was like, why did you bother? Why did you bother? Yeah. I just pointed out and asked you a question, but the fact is I had unmasked you in front of all I think it was about 1,000 people watching. I was like, this is just bizarre, and I get that, and I think it's really important. And having someone talk about the bullying online and the fact that the internet is giving you a chance to opinionate when you wouldn't really need to do that. As if you're busy enough to opinionate on other people, you probably should be spending that time trying to fix something that you're doing in your life that you want to get better. You can spend your time a little bit better than doing that. So yeah, you've had an incredible upbringing. We've only just touched on some few things. One thing I did write down, you said someone tried to kidnap you once. Now, well, that is bizarre.
Yeah. What? I was in the car. Well, I don't know. It's weird. I grew up, until I was 7, I thought I was black.
Right.
Why? Because I grew up in the West Indies, and it really proves that racism is taught. It's not inherent. And so I was like I reflected the sun. I just became a giant freckle. Yeah. And my sister and I were in the West Indies, and everyone there is as dark as night. And we were at the local school, and like my parents have got pictures of us like at the junior infants graduation, and it's just like this, just oh my god, there's a moon in the sky. But we were what would be known as a high commodity. And unfortunately, this was like Colombia was here, and then the West Indies Grenadines were here, and then Miami's up here. And these were like the cocaine, heroin years, like serious early 90s. Like you watch like, what is it? The Pablo Escobar stuff. All that. It's all real. And they would use the West Indies as drop-offs, and they would use them for like disposing of bodies and things like that. And like the best of my recollection, I was on the beach, and someone on the beach grabbed me, put me in their boat, and started to drive away to a bigger boat. And I was screaming and I was yelling. And the local fishermen on the island saw what was going on, so they intercepted. They actually threw me overboard because I'm just not worth it. And the fishermen grabbed me, took me back to my parents. And I think even they held me for like, well, we want a pay rise or something. It's like, what? Just give me back my son. Because, we grew up in St. Vincent, and it was like my parents managed the resort. And we became like friends with everyone there. Everyone was, I think when we first moved over, they were a bit cautious of like kind of white people coming over, and is this all? And what's hilarious, this is a quick story I told recently, that when we first moved, there was huge resentment against us going, and people were like leaving snakes on our doorsteps and stuff like this, and windows were being smashed. And we didn't understand why until we were told, like, my dad's name is John Hawkins, and I'm Bo Hawkins. And John Hawkins in like the 1700s was the guy who invented slave trading.
How unfortunate.
Oh no, it's just like, it's like moving to Germany and being called Adolf Hitler. Yeah. And literally there was like, and because of some of their culture, a lot of them were like into voodoo and stuff. They were like, oh, the second coming is here.
Oh God.
I think they realized quite quickly we weren't there to enslave the island.
Blimey, what a colourful life. And so you've got a book coming out, so explain to our audience your book. A lot of these things will be in the book, I assume.
Yeah, so the book, I'm writing it at the moment. I've got a lot of it done, but I'm going back and redoing it, and there's no actual plan to release it. I'm not talking to anyone about it right now, but what I thought would be exciting is I have lived an awesome life so far. And this, I don't know, we'll just call it chapter 1 of my life. I thought I wanted to get out. And as Gary Vee said again, document, don't create. I think it would be awesome to take people along with me for this creation process of how I write the book, what I relive, stories that come to my head, and I just want to go, oh, I'll come on and do a quick live and be like, oh, you won't believe this. I was quiet thinking about this memory. Like I buried the kidnapping thing away for years, and it came back, and I was like, oh my God. And I'm taking people on the journey of how I'm writing it. They start to get to know me because people are interested in the people.
Of course.
And I think I've got some fun stories. There's so much that I haven't even touched on, which I'm keeping for the book. But people see like my struggles. They see why I'm doing it. And it's kind of going to be part bio, part life lessons. So every kind of major story in it, I want to, what I took away from it as a reflection now, the author, not the memory. And so, yeah, that's the journey I'm taking on now. There's no plans to release it in the very near future. It's just, again, it's part of the writing process of documenting it. And I know it's a bit tongue-in-cheek calling it I Love You Too, but it's actually the forgiveness aspect of what I've learned in the world as well. And I can forgive anything. And it's something in my heart that I feel like I Love You Too is just a forgiveness call to the world, but also to myself. And I'm saying it to myself. I love you too, man. Like, it's all good. And that's where it comes in. And yeah, I know it's a beautifully crafted title that was just appeared out of nowhere. But I think the tagline is the exploration for inspiration, and that's how I became who I am today. And it's not a sensationalist piece. There's no like details in it that's like, oh, and then they did this and they hid money here and there's someone buried here. There's none of that. It's just part of the journey I went through, and I'm completely open about it. And I just would love people to see that world through my eyes as well.
Fantastic. So what does the next sort of couple of years, maybe, this next 12 months hold for you? What are you trying to get out? What will you be doing?
Well, I'm literally head down. I'm working my ass off on 4-Minute Masters. I'm doing season 2 at the moment. Like I've got an interview after we chat with Mike Robbins. He just released his brand new book, Bring Your Whole Self to Work. And then I've got Mel Robbins in a few days, and that's just building that. So many fish. Actually, it's weird. As we were talking, I got an email from Simon Sinek's people just there.
Awesome, fantastic.
So hopefully something down that avenue.
Brilliant.
And yeah, I'm putting myself into this, but I'm also at the moment, and I don't mind saying it to you guys, like I'm giving away at the moment. I'm trying to do at least 100 free sessions to help people in whatever avenue of their life. And if I can't help you, the little black book I'm building is pretty impressive. Like I think 90% of the people I've interviewed on my channel, I'm on very good first name terms with. A lot of them, like Scott Stabile was in London recently. We had the whole day together. They're eating lunch, walking around. Like Ryan Van Poederoyen, the drummer from Devin Townsend Projects, my best bud. Like I can't believe we hadn't met all these years. And we actually started Mastermind Motivation Worldwide together, which is a business that we do seminars around the world, and these seminars encompass health, body, mind, principles that Ryan's lived by to become successful, principles that I've lived. And we're talking to people who've basically, again, that have not really been told their true potential. And we're going out, we're doing these seminars, and we were in Houston, I think, 3 months ago with Sagi Kalev from Beachbody, like their main guy. And we did an awesome seminar there helping people. And yeah, it's just building from there. So there's a lot going on. Again, I don't want to be like a jack of all trades or a Bo of all trades. I'm trying to hone in. And it's the more I'm going with the flow, the more things like the work with Evan's coming along and coaching people, seeing their results. But dude, honestly, to wake up and get an email from someone being like, oh my God, we spoke 2 days ago and I tried this technique of yours and holy crap, this has happened. Man, that makes me feel better than if I won the lottery, because I'm like, yes, someone else in the world is finally seeing the world as I think it should be. I know it's a bit selfish, but
no, of course it's not. It's not selfish. You're giving it away. You're not taking anything from anyone. And so, Bo, where can people find your work? Where can people contact you and connect with you?
So best way to find me is on, I use Facebook the most, facebook.com/4Minute Masters or Botham Hawkins. You can get me on there. I don't really, Instagram's not really great for my kind of stuff because a picture is not going to encompass much. I occasionally use Twitter, but mainly Facebook. But if you want to watch the videos, you want to watch Gary Vaynerchuk, you want to watch Mel Robbins, you want to watch Wim Hof, youtube.com/C/4Minute Masters. and you can find them all on there. The whole of season 1's on there, and they are about 4 minutes, and that's all it needs. And I just got advised to, I can't believe I never thought of it before, to do a podcast.
Yes, definitely.
So,
of course, yeah, you need to do a podcast.
So we're just, yesterday we applied through iTunes to put out 4-Minute Masters as a podcast. And the first episode of that is going to be Gary Vaynerchuk, so that should be good.
That's a good way to start. Very good way to start.
Not bad.
Well, Bo, thank you for your time. And let's do this again. Hopefully the internet connection will be a little bit better next time. But it's been great, and we've literally just touched on some of the things that you're doing. And it'd be great to sort of follow your journey as you're building. I think you're building. We're about 18 months into this sort of business, but as most people know, it doesn't just start when you start the business. You've done years and years worth of life experience, skills collecting, to bring it all together. And if you're ever in Norfolk, if you want to come to Norwich, spend a day in the studio and do some filming with us, you want to come record a podcast, we can live stream from multiple cameras here in this room or in the little TV studio. So if you want to come create some content with us, we'd love to have you down in Norfolk.
I will. I would love to come up to you guys. It's not far. I can just get the train up or something. It's very
let us
easy
know.
For me.
Give me a date and come down, and we'll record a live on your YouTube channel with a couple of cameras, and we'll have a proper chat face to face. And anything we can do for you as well, anything we can promote for you, then please do let us know, because we will be part of this.
Well, thank you guys. Like what you're doing as well, I feel part of it, and you're trying to help people. And what I love about you guys is you're taking people that people haven't heard of, and next thing they're being discovered more and more. Like I can't wait for the world to meet Jay Rise, because I've known Jason for a while, and for that to be coming out, like that is just a fireball of a guy. Like what
He's
a
lovely,
team him and Evan make.
Yeah, well, we put it out today, and I really like him. I loved the interview we had was really, really good, and I really liked it. We got into a level, I don't know if you'd spoken about some of the things you've spoken about before, but what a lovely guy, and to be sort of just interviewing his people was great.
Oh, he's given me such a kick up the ass when I've needed it a few times, but in a beautiful way, like a well-crafted boot. But no, man, just like from my heart to you, thank you for everything you're doing. You're on a mission as well, I can see it, and you're trying to let people be the best versions of themselves, discovering content, and you're putting your time. As humans, we all have the same amount of time, 24 hours in a day, and you're taking some of your time to actively help people. So thank you from everyone.
No, I appreciate that. It's very kind of you. So guys, go over to success4.com. This will go up. We'll get the audio out on iTunes and SoundCloud, and we'll get the video out on YouTube. Or let's do this face to face as well. So yeah, and also check out Bo's work. Go on Twitter, go on Facebook, and connect with him and his 4-Minute Masters, as well as the Bo Show. I'm really looking forward to that. I'd love to come on your show one day, maybe when you've got some time to come and do some stuff with you. So please, let's keep this going.
I love it. Guys, thank you for watching. It's a privilege to be here. Thanks, guys.
Cheers, buddy. Take care.